I'm a 32-year-old male, with my wife, a 30-year-old female, in marriage for 6 years. I believe she is gaslighting me and I don't know what to do. First and foremost, yes, I know this sounds ridiculous, and this will probably get down votes as a troll post, but I sincerely don't know where to turn. I've never experienced anything like this. Little background. My wife has always been sort of a jokester. She has a great poker face and I'm fairly gullible. So she'll feed me little innocuous lies pretty frequently and delights when I fall for them, but she's never kept a deception going for more than a day. She also got really into weird Twitter a few months ago, and her sense of humor has become pretty inscrutable and opaque to me, but until very recently I've just considered it a sort of endearing quirk. So anyway, for Christmas my in-laws got us all of Battlestar Galactica on DVD. They were always raving about it and neither of us had watched it. I had to leave for a business trip on the 30th. And my wife was sick, so we ended up just marathoning the whole thing before I left, without giving too much away. The ending is a little heavy on the religious angle. I liked it, but my wife thought it ruined the entire show. I know general consensus is it's a bit of a letdown, but I frankly felt it was pretty consistent with what the show had been building up to the whole time. My wife couldn't believe that I didn't feel the same way as her. I wouldn't quite describe her as livid, but she was mad. I figured this was partially a reaction from her just being fed up from being sick for a week, but it was so out of character for her. We barely ever fight, and this was over something so trivial. She called me a moron and ended up tossing and turning after we went to bed, and eventually left to sleep on the couch. When I got up in the morning to head to the airport, she was still fast asleep. And when I gently shook her to say goodbye, she barely roused and didn't respond when I said I loved her. Fast forward to Monday. I get back from the trip. Friend picks me up from the airport because wife has a class at the gym that she couldn't miss. We'd been texting while I was gone and she apologized for being weird about things. And I thought everything was back to normal, but I found it a bit odd that she couldn't skip a gym session to grab me. I couldn't sleep on the plane, so I hit the hay when I got home. When I woke up, she was already awake and busy in the kitchen, which is bizarre, since she doesn't work and usually doesn't wake up until 10ish. I commented on this and hugged her and said good morning, and she basically responded with little grunts. I was about to leave when she handed me a brown bag lunch. She has never done this before, and said to me, "It's cold out there, better hoagie down." I grabbed the bag and just said, "What?" And she walked to the bathroom and slammed the door. I was going to be late for a meeting, so I couldn't stick around to try and make sense of what was happening. After I got out, I texted her frantically to try and figure things out, but she kept responding like it never happened. Everything was fine. She loved me. She asked me to please stop being so weird. When I got home, it was more of the same. I assumed it must be one of her weird jokes and decided to leave it. Every morning this week, same exact thing. Wife is up, won't speak to me, hands me a brown bag lunch, and says, "It's cold out there, better hoagie down." Walks to the bathroom, slams door. This morning I had enough and yelled at her through the door, pleaded with her to stop, but she didn't say a word. Every night it's been the same thing. Didn't happen. What are you talking about? You're being crazy. None of this is happening. She's been legitimately angry with me, and for the last few nights we haven't been sleeping together. I heard her talking to her mother about this on the phone. I seriously have no idea what to do. I brought up couples counseling and she was incredulous. Is this some weird Twitter thing or new meme that I don't know about? Even if it is, she's taken this way too far. I don't know how I'm going to spend a weekend at home with her. Does anyone have any advice? In short, wife and I had an argument about Battlestar Galactica. Since then, when I go to work, she hands me a brown lunch bag and says, "It's cold out there, better hoagie down." I have no idea what it means, and she refuses to acknowledge that she's doing it. She's telling me I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do. Edit. Thanks for the help, everyone. I've been up all night worrying, and I'm going to finally try to get some sleep. Taking the day off work, going to try and have a serious discussion with my wife and her parents, get a hold of her psychiatrist when I wake up. We'll keep everyone posted. Update. Woke up an hour ago with a headache. Went to the fridge to get a protein smoothie and saw that it had been cleared of what little food we had in there. Wife was not in the house. Got dressed and went to the door with the intent of going to get some food. Saw a brown paper bag with, "It's cold out there, better hoagie down," written in cursive taped to the door. Opened the bag and a can of ginger ale was in there. Went outside and her car is still there, but as far as I can tell, she took wallet, keys, coat, etc. We live about 5 minutes outside of a nice town and she likes to take long walks, so I'm assuming that's where she is. This has officially gone way too far. I'm going to wait an hour and see if she comes home or she or her parents returns my calls. If not, I'm driving to her parents to hopefully make sense of the situation. Bringing the video of her and the bag. Will update tonight, hopefully. Update to no sign of her. Got a call from her parents that was just the sounds of them arguing in the background. Hung up after about 30 seconds, no idea what that's about. Driving there now. Not quite a week later, on the 13th of January 2016, original writer made an update that was deleted, but the next day, January 14th, he copy-pasted the text into a comment on I made a second update that was also deleted because people were getting rowdy in the comments. People keep messaging me for the text, so here you go. The general consensus seemed to be split between me lying and this being a strange story. I guess decide for yourself. I tried posting this a couple of days ago, but apparently it got deleted due to formatting issues or something. Logged in just now via my brother's phone, currently impatient, not supposed to have access to a phone, and saw that my inbox had blown up, so attempting to post again. Hopefully this won't get eaten too. Not going to bother to edit, just copy-pasting. So if the timeline seems off, read this as if it was a couple days ago. I'm currently sedated, but I wanted to post this update because I don't know when I'll have a chance to next. The short of it is that my wife was not at fault here. I was. I've gotten into the habit of taking Benadryl to help me sleep through the night. My wife snores and I'm allergic to her cats, so it makes sense. And over time I've ended up taking more and more, to the point that some nights I'll take 5 or 6 if I'm having trouble breathing. I know this is probably really stupid, and it bit me in the ass. When I got home from the airport, all 3 of my wife's cats were on the bed. I searched my nightstand for some Benadryl and couldn't find any. I looked in my wife's drawer and found a bottle of hers. She is also allergic to her cats, go figure, but also gets allergy shots. It turns out that Benadryl bottle was actually where she was keeping her old Seroquel. Both are pink, so I didn't give it a second thought. I popped 6. I went to sleep. This is, apparently, where everything unraveled. Fast forward to my driving to her parents' house. I started feeling incredibly dizzy about an hour out and pulled over. I sat in the car for a while, but the feeling didn't go away, so I decided to get a motel and confront them the next day. I took a handful of the Seroquel and went to sleep. I got up today in this weird mania. I got to her parents' place at 9ish. Her car was there, which didn't make any sense. I rang the doorbell and her father opened the door. He was surprised to see me. I was sweating heavily and having a hard time speaking. My father-in-law has always been exceptionally kind to me, and he was sort of straddling the line between concern and terror. I didn't understand what was going on. I started crying. I brought out the paper bag and I tried to explain. I pulled out my phone to show him the video. My wife ran to the door with this pained expression on her face and asked me what I was doing, pleading with me to calm down. My in-law said I'd been terrorizing his daughter. He had no idea why I would do this. I didn't understand. She pulled out her phone and showed me a video. It was me banging on the bathroom door, yelling at her to come out. She had clearly taken it from behind the couch in the living room. She showed me another of me just standing at the door before work, just staring at nothing. She showed me video of my behavior after I came home from work, and I was being much more aggressive and much less cogent than I remembered. Apparently, she had left home Tuesday night. I was alone in the house for 2 days. I just collapsed. I pulled up the video on my phone, or I tried to. I couldn't find it. All I found were 16 odd pictures of the ground and my feet in quick succession. It was right around that point that I started experiencing this crippling dizziness and this feeling that can't quite describe as nauseous, but it felt like I couldn't sit still. And I was shaking, and I felt like no direction was up. The doctors told me this was called akathisia. Apparently someone called an ambulance because I could not sit still and said I thought I was dying. At the hospital I was barely able to talk and I couldn't concentrate and I just wanted to sleep. They apparently pumped me full of Ativan and I slept for 5 or 6 hours. When I came to, they started asking me a ton of questions. Once we got to medications I may have taken, I mentioned the Benadryl and my wife realized what had happened and explained about the Seroquel. They're not entirely sure, but at this point their best guess is the Seroquel either put me into some manic state or triggered some underlying schizophrenia, something I don't know. They don't really know how to explain the delusions and the hallucinations right now, but it's the best they've got at the moment. They asked if anyone in my family had a history of mental illness and I responded that I didn't know. My parents are pretty old and I don't know much about my grandparents. The dizziness started to roll over me again and they gave me more Ativan and I went back to sleep. While I was out, my wife contacted my parents. Apparently my grandfather had a mean temper and suffered delusions from time to time, rambling about things that didn't make any sense and waking up at weird hours to do God knows what. He never got a diagnosis and died fairly young, but my mother and her family think it might have been schizophrenia. So, maybe something, maybe nothing. Who knows? So right now I'm sitting in the hospital. The doctor and my wife are throwing around a number of ideas. I'm going to see a psychiatrist who's going to make a determination about what the next step is, for sure. My wife is, rightfully, frightened of being around me in my current state, and while she doesn't appear to be mad at me, she says she would rather my brother look after me until I can get a proper diagnosis, get prescribed some medications. I have no idea where I came up with the phrase, hoagie down. I was listening to a radio show that mentions hoagies and Philly a lot. The Best Show, formerly of WFMU, got the box set for her smuzz. Maybe that's where I got it, but they never used the phrase specifically. I don't know. I have no idea. I guess I just want to thank everyone who tried to help. Sorry if this ended up being a time waster or anticlimactic or whatever. In short, turns out I'm going crazy, currently getting treatment. Very sorry if I wasted everyone's time.